Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kieran. I help people using a spiritual perspective. I got tired eyes today. I just woke up from a nap. So if I seem like I'm super groggy, it's because I had a dream about a rabbit that was having sex with my father. No, that's not true. But dreams do work like that. They're pretty weird. Today, I wanted to talk about Reiki. This is my experience with Reiki, and I wanted to sort of share this question, or raise this question: does Reiki work? Right? Short answer is no, it doesn't. So, see ya. Now we can keep going. We can keep talking about it. Does Reiki work? Well, let's get into details, because my experience with Reiki, I've had it done 3 times. I've paid for it, I think once, really only, and I got it twice for free as a gift, I suppose. An exchange. First time that I ever got Reiki was in Ireland. I was dealing at the time primarily, or my primary reason for going to the Reiki in the first place was because of some chronic tailbone pain. Okay? At that point, it had probably been going on for less than a year. And I wanted to go see this woman, very nice woman. Reiki and spirituality in that sort of sense is not very big in Ireland. It might have gained momentum now, but back in 2018, it wasn't really that, 2018, 2019, it wasn't that big, okay? So it's probably the only Reiki person for hundreds of miles around. But a very nice woman, not gonna knock her personality or her ethics or, what she was trying to accomplish, nothing like that. And it didn't do anything except put me to sleep. Right? It put me on a nice table. There was some relaxing music, all the little spiritual trinkets in a room you can imagine to have. You could sort of think, oh, what would someone have in a Reiki studio? All those things were there. And probably about an hour, maybe less, maybe 40 minutes, right? And I just remember going back to my aunt's house and just falling asleep for 45 minutes. It was a really good nap, but ultimately my tailbone pain never did go away. And there was no guidance or really any information that was given to me that could help with my tailbone pain at that time, okay? So there was a little bit of knowledge touched upon with the root chakra, but not a lot. So fast forward maybe a couple years, and I had someone else do Reiki for me, a sort of acquaintance or a friend or whatever you want to look at it. And the Reiki that she did for me twice, first again was for the tailbone pain, and then the third time was more for emotional pain. The second time, felt the sensations, felt the tingling, didn't receive any physical healing. There was no, 2 or 3 days, 4 or 5, 6 days without tailbone pain. No, none of that happened. Then there was the guidance and the insights that I received, which would have been about the root chakra. And they were on point to a certain degree. For instance, the root chakra has to do with your foundation and feeling safe. So if you think about the foundation of a house, and if it's not built correctly or structurally sound, then small disturbances can sort of ruin the foundation of the house or make it sort of fall over, right? Well, symptoms of that include, weight problems, binge eating, financial issues, not feeling safe, feelings of insecurity. All those were definitely going on at the time. However, I had been dealing with most of those issues my whole life, right? That was me sneezing. And despite dealing with all of those issues, and despite having, those sort of moments where I did feel very low, I didn't have tailbone pain. Tailbone pain was actually very recent, and it happened maybe a few months, maybe 3 to 6 months after my spiritual awakening started. If I have a point of origin, which I do, it was probably about 4 or 5 months after that, okay? And there was even times when I did have tailbone pain that I actually felt pretty okay, that I did have money, or that I did feel safe. Okay, or that I wasn't struggling with some of these issues that you associate with the root chakra that's unbalanced. So even her guidance, though it made sense in a vacuum, didn't really apply objectively to anything. And then again, the tailbone pain didn't go away. Nothing happened of any significant result. Comparatively, I received a steroid shot or a cortisone shot, some type of shot, years later, 2, I think, that, didn't work really either, but it did take the tailbone pain away for like 2 weeks straight. I didn't feel it at all. So medically, I've had better results than I did with Reiki, right? For physical pain. Now there's the third time. And the third time I had Reiki was for the emotional pain or just some stuff that I was dealing with, and I wanted to sort of see if it would help that. It was one of my final go of being an open-minded person. And again, you felt the sensations, you feel a little bit of something, and you're not really sure if it's you, if it's them, if it's anything in between, but nothing dramatic, nothing significant, nothing to release any tension or any emotional issues. And the guidance that provided with that was nothing I didn't already know. So it wasn't instrumental in making any personal changes. If somebody tells you something that you already know and you're not doing what you already know anyway, it doesn't matter if it comes from another voice anyway. So ultimately, nothing changed as a result of that Reiki session. So as I've gotten older or wiser, sometimes they don't link up, but as I've gotten older, I've come to the conclusion that Reiki is ultimately not a significant form of healing. And there's actually a study, and you can look this up, you don't have to trust the guy with the messy hair. There's a study that says, and I think it was conducted by a 12-year-old child, I think it was sort of come up with by a 12-year-old. You have to, don't quote me on that part, but you look it up, and what happened is they had this sort of scientific experiment, and they'd have one person on one side of a wall, can't see through the other side, right? And some other people on the other side of the wall, one person. And in the middle of this wall, but you could put your hands through it, right? Because the whole point is the energy work, right? And you could put your hands through it. And that resulted in no significant results whatsoever. So what actually happened was someone would put their hands through, like someone who believed in Reiki and could share, and they would be asked to share energy or to feel the other person's energy on the other side of the wall, right? And so everybody, most of these people, or this person was claiming to feel most of these other people's energy, but it was revealed that half the time nobody was even there. And the other half of the time, they were very far away. So out of all the sort of different scenarios they did, it was proven that the energy that was being exchanged, or that the Reiki that was being performed, there was nothing really going on. There was nobody on the other side, or that they were far away. So that when they said like, oh yes, I feel somebody, I feel the energy, that was sometimes, they weren't even in the room, or there was no difference at all, right? Is that going to keep going? No, it stopped. So, sorry, that's my sex robot. So what happened, or what I realized just even from reading that, was how strange the placebo effect is, and how we can really try to make anything fit our narrative, right? Now, what I should have done at the beginning of the video is I should have maybe briefly talked about what Reiki is. So we're 9 minutes in, but I'll do it now anyway. So Reiki is the idea that if you can share energy or heal physical or emotional ailments using, sort of universal energy, right? With your hands. Sometimes it's physical touch, but a lot of the time it's just this sort of hovering over, right? It's a Japanese art of alternative healing, right? It's called Reiki. And that's just my own words, it's not the definition per whatever you might find on Google, or God help you, Yahoo, but it's a loose definition of it. And what I've begun to think about, and what I've started to realize with Reiki, is that it's, yes, not a good form of healing. It does have its benefits. It's always a good thing to search outside of the medical field for answers. And what Reiki does well, as many alternative therapies, they beg the question, what would happen if you had the ability to heal yourself? What would happen if you took the time and the energy to focus on yourself and to allow your body to do what was best for you, right? So I'm all for that, right? I mean, certainly you go to a doctor, a lot of them, whether it's a psychiatrist or a traditional doctor, a lot of them, are pushing pharmaceutical pills. Those companies obviously are mostly into making money rather than helping people, let's be honest. And a lot of the time you're trying stuff in the dark, just like you might be with Reiki. The difference is with Reiki, you don't get a second opinion. You don't get the benefit to say, oh, well, an x-ray didn't help, but an MRI or a CAT scan might. Just like with my tailbone pain, right? If the Reiki didn't work for my tailbone pain, but when the doctor, when it never showed up on an x-ray, I could go, okay, well, let's do an MRI, let's do a CAT scan, and then it starts to show up. So you can get second opinions, you can start looking at other things, and most of the time, if you have insurance, it'll be covered. Now, obviously, medical field is super expensive, of course, and without insurance, you're pretty much, screwed. With Reiki, it's probably $50 to $75 US. Can't get that second opinion, and if it doesn't work, there's nothing else you can really do, okay? So the medical field is still the medical field for a reason. There's still a reason to trust in medicine. But what alternative therapy does is it does ask that question, hey, wouldn't it be great if we had the ability to heal ourselves? And you know what? A lot of the time we do. We do have the ability to heal ourselves. I'm all for that. I'm all in that understanding that you can let your body do what it's supposed to do. And you'd be surprised by how much, just rest actually heals your body. And it's the same thing with your emotions. A lot of the time, all you need is to be still and to sort of allow these things to come up. Sometimes we just don't need to take very specific actions. We just need to rest, give ourselves a break, and be with ourselves and listen to our body's needs. And that's sort of even a result of this tailbone pain that I'm talking about, is I didn't even need to do all these medical actions necessarily. My tailbone pain starts to heal itself, or it starts to feel better when I stay away from certain foods, namely gluten, okay? And combine that with some stretching or yoga, as well as the general sense of sort of having to maintain a more positive emotional state, so releasing some trapped emotions, that results in a sort of tailbone pain-free kind of environment. So there's a combination of things. So does Reiki work on its own? Absolutely not. Not in my experience, and I've never really seen it work like that for anybody either. You don't need to go to a school. You don't need to go have medical training. You can take some Reiki training and you get a little certificate, but that's not really a guarantee of anything. And it doesn't say as much as 4 or 5 years as a medical degree would. And I'm not like a shill for the medical world, but there's a reason that they exist. And science and medicine is the reason why we are alive. It's the reason why humanity has evolved so much in the sense of our physiology, right? The developments that have happened. There's a sort of negativity within spiritual circles against Western medicine or science, and that's feeding into religion again. That's feeding into a religious narrative that we can't trust it. It's just different words are used, but it's the same sort of feeling. And when you notice the pattern like that repeat, if you can actually see it, it sort of feels weird for me, because a lot of spiritual people that I know, they'll get bit by a spider and they won't take medicine, and they'll just try to heal it away, get Reiki on it. But it's a spider bite. You got bit by a black widow or something. You should take care of that, or a even more dangerous spider or a snake or whatever happens. You break your leg. You don't heal it with Reiki. You go get a cast. You get it diagnosed, and that's what can happen. Right? And so people kind of fool themselves into thinking that these energy work, these exchanges are getting to the root, are actually healing what's happening, right? So they offer a perspective and they offer a limited healing. But the most important thing, at least in my experience, is that no one else is going to heal you for you. You have to be the one to take that. You have to be the one that can do something with that. You have to be the one that puts yourself first and asks the tough questions and makes the hard decisions. And whether or not that's waiting a little bit before you go to the doctor, if you're somebody like me who might overreact instinctively before realizing, okay, things might not be that bad, or if you're somebody who just doesn't want to go to the doctor at all, right? And you just automatically go towards alternative healing. Whatever it is, however you react to things, it's really important to just remember that, well, what can I do for myself, and what does my body need? Ultimately, that's the best question we can ask ourselves, is just to give ourselves a little bit of time to see what our body needs. And it will say, you know what, sure, maybe a little bit of Reiki, or maybe a little bit of just resting or healing, or whatever placebo effect, energy work you need mentally to make yourself feel better. Or maybe you need something more serious, or something more traditional. But ultimately, nobody else can tell you what that is. You have to be the one to do that. So my experience with Reiki, I wouldn't say it's necessarily negative in the sense that I hate it, but negative in the sense that it never worked for me and never offered me the insights or the healing that I was, actually promised.